we are very excited to be here and proud to be a part of this initiative as well. So why is this important? Did you guys know that the 2020 census determines our fair share of $675 billion in funding for programs like SNAP, Medicare, and our fair share of schools and hospitals, and our fair share of representatives in Congress as well? It's also important to point out that only 61.9% of New Yorkers completed the census in 2010, compared to 76% nationally. This community, Flatbush, is one of the most difficult communities to count. In the census tract that we're currently in, only 51.8% of the households responded. That means that we're getting about half of our representation of our community, and we want 100%. Here at the Y, one of our core beliefs is strengthening communities. A successful census is critical to our community, and we're very, very proud to be a part of this work. And we're happy that all you guys are here with us as well. Thanks to some recent funding that we received from the city, we are dedicating full resources to this community to make sure that everybody's voices is counted and that you're heard in the 2020 census. It's 10 questions that will shape the next 10 years of the Flatbush community. So once again, every single one of your voices matter. The agenda for today, we are joined by the Flatbush Development Corporation and Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, who will each share with us what the census is, why it really truly matters to our community. Later on, after that, there will be an open discussion for questions and answers, and we invite you guys to join and be a part of this discussion. No question is a bad question. So without further ado, let's get the agenda started, okay?
I'm here today with my sorority sister, Diane Lucas. My name is Kim Lisa Hampton, and we are here representing Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Delta Sigma Theta was founded 107 years ago, and we were founded on Christian principles with a 5-point programmatic thrust, which are economic development, educational development, international awareness, physical and mental health, and political awareness and involvement. So the census is very much aligned to our political awareness and involvement. East Kings County Alumni, which I'm a part of, and Diane, we were created in 2007. Am I correct? And we service certain areas of Brooklyn, Canarsie being one of them, Flatbush, Brownsville, East New York, Bushwick, Williamsburg. Our goal is to come out among the people, the residents of those communities, and provide any type of information that we can provide that will strengthen us as a collective so that we are aware of our rights, that we continue to push forward with a political awareness and involvement thrust and focused. And that's why we are here today, because we were very, very fortunate to receive a $25,000 grant. And we are working in our service areas, helping to just hear perspectives from the stakeholders and the community members and share any type of information that we may have that will strengthen us as a collective so that we can continue to do what's best for our communities. So without further ado, I would like to present now Diane Lucas, who will talk to you about the census.
I'm so happy to see so many people here interested in the census, and we hope to provide you as much information as we can. You've already heard how important the census is, and there's been a lot of talk about Census 2020 in particular. So we're going to talk more about that and expand on why the census is so important. But before we do that, we want to explain what the census is. So the census is a count of every single person in this country. Person. I didn't say citizen, right? Person. Every person who resides in this country needs to be counted. And we have been doing this since 1790. It is in our Constitution that every 10 years, every single person is counted. This is how we distribute power, political power in our country. So it could have been distributed by wealth, or it could have been distributed by how much land you have, but instead it's distributed by how many people you have. So that is the reason why we have the census. And a part of the reason why the Census 2020 is so important, this is the first time it's going to be available online, which is great for many reasons, right? Like, it's easy, you can do it from your phone, you can do it while you're at work, or while you're watching TV or during your free time. But also, it causes a lot of issues for people who don't have access to the internet or are intimidated by the internet. But fortunately, we have places like the library and other public places where you can go online. And you can also still print it out. You can also still fill out a printed form. What's going to happen is, starting mid-March, every household is going to receive an information from the US government that tells you how to fill out the census and gives you the option to do it online. If you don't fill it out online, then you'll have the option of filling it out by paper. If you do not respond to the census, then they're going to send what's called an enumerator. This is a person who's going to come and ask you to fill out the census. If you don't respond to that, then they're just going to use records and try to figure it out. And as you've already heard, Brooklyn is severely undercounted, and particularly in Flatbush, we have a high risk of being undercounted. What does it mean to be undercounted? It means it's as if you're not there. So when the government is trying to figure out, how many people do we need to provide SNAP assistance to? Food programs, education, housing, infrastructure. They're going off of what's in the census. So if you're not counted, you're not taken into account. And then another huge piece is how we determine, as I mentioned earlier, political power. How we determine who's in our House of Representatives is determined by the census. So there's 435 seats. We are at risk of losing 2 seats in New York City. That means actual representatives that would no longer be there. 2 people who would no longer be advocating for our interest in Congress. That is huge, and something we really want to avoid. Brooklyn has been severely undercounted for the last several census. Just the last one in 2010, we had the lowest count out of any borough in the city. So we are spending a lot of effort and attention and resources to make sure everyone's counted. Something else I just want to flag, because this is another reason why Census 2020 has been getting a lot of attention, is because there was this concern because of the federal government's request to put a citizenship question on the census. There is no citizenship question on the census. That was all litigated, and there's not a citizenship question. And all the information that you put on the census is confidential. It is only used for statistical purposes, meaning it's only used to determine how much money should go into your community and how many representatives you should have in the House of Representatives. And this is very important that I stress that. It is illegal, and your information is safe. So to make sure I covered everything. Those were the key things that we wanted to raise. But again, just want to emphasize that the census is so incredibly important. We're so happy to be here. We're looking forward to continuing to do this work throughout Brooklyn. We have until the end of June, July to do this. So we are working really hard to make sure everybody's counted. Thanks.
Now I want to welcome a tenant from the Flatbush Corporation to come up to give a testimony. That person's here.
Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Melissa Cribb-Pichino. I work with the Flatbush Tenant Coalition. and I'm here with Daniel Fields. He is a tenant from Flatbush. He is also one of our members. He's one of our tenant leaders. I just want to briefly just kind of explain who we are as Flatbush Tenant Coalition. We are a tenants' rights organization. We help tenants in Flatbush learn how to navigate through the housing system, fight evictions, fight gentrification, fight their landlords if their landlords are trying to falsely evict them. We help them get free lawyers, which we do have information on the table as well. Why do we find the census to be important? We find it to be important because most of our tenants are on SNAP or are receiving SCREE or DREE or are participating in the food pantries. And why do we even have that is because of the census. It is very important to fill out the census because if you don't fill out the census, you won't have things such as hospitals. You won't have things such as Medicaid, Medicare. They won't know how many people need these things. I'm a mother of a 2-year-old, and it's very important to me because of the census, we have daycares and Head Starts in my neighborhood. So I just wanted to say, like, we cater to the Flatbush neighborhood, so you guys are very, very, very important to us. And we just want you guys to really take the census serious because we have been, like the young lady said before, we have been undercounted. And we can't let this happen again. We do need to show them that Flatbush does matter. Flatbush does count. So I'm going to pass it along to Mr. Daniel Fields, and he's going to explain his experience living in Flatbush and why he thinks the census is important.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Daniel Fields, and I'm a member of Flatbush Coalition. When I met with those people, it was very important for me. My speech will be different. I don't want to talk about the census because they already say so many things about it. And you know about it, what the census is about. Let me talk about the coalition, about tenants, where you live, how to protect your apartment, harassment from the landlord, super, all those things. If you are on Flatbush Coalition, you could stop that. If any lawsuit can come over too. But we don't want to go to all of that. We just want a place to live because we are a human being. Flatbush Coalition is a good coalition. It's good to be a member. If anytime anybody from Flatbush Coalition try to help you to get in, get yourself in. By yourself, you're weak, but if we are together, we're strong. So be together, be a part of Flatbush Coalition. Any problem, we could have a meeting on your building. So many things we could discuss together. We go to Albany. We do a lot of things. We meet with all the our senator. We meet with them, and so many things we could do. So be a part of Flatbush Coalition. Thank you.
And just to tie up what Mr. Fields is saying, where he said there's strength in numbers. So with the census, yeah, one of us may fill out the census, but that's not going to help us. We all need to fill out the census. There is strength in numbers. Thank you, Mr. Fields. Thank you, everybody.
So at this time, we'll ask all of our presenters to come up and grab a seat, and we'll have a Q&A discussion at this time.
Hi, I had a question. The census helps determine, does the census help determine what is considered low-income housing?
I believe the census does help determine what is considered low-income housing because we do need a certain percentage. I don't remember the percentage right now, but we do need a certain percentage of low-income housing in each neighborhood based on the population. So to base the population, we do need the census. So yeah, it does tie into that.
Hi, can you say a little bit about the languages the census form is in and what sort of help is available to people who don't speak English as their native language?
I know there's probably I think about 12 languages. I can't remember them off the top of my head. I'm so sorry. I don't know if anyone else is able to answer that question.
So we do have someone from the Census Bureau here that can answer that question.
Hi, thank you. Yes, so the form will come and the invitation to respond will come in English and Spanish. And then if when you go online, you'll be able to respond in 12 non-English languages, and those are the mostly used languages in New York City. And then if you call, you'll be able to also respond in 12 non-English languages. Also, if you need more help online, there'll be other 59 non-English languages that you'll be able to respond in. Also, I mentioned you can also call in. But we use translation services, so if you call and we don't have a person that speaks the language that you're calling with, we'll find you someone to respond.
Bonjour. Good morning. Est-ce que programme ça son programme que normalement li permanent, qui veut dire que est-ce que il y a un côté la privé ou sinon c'est pour toute la durée, c'est pour toute durée et de l'année 2021 jusqu'à X.
The census happens every 10 years. So after this census is done for 2020, that's it for this particular census. There are other surveys that the Census Bureau does that are separate. It's not counting every single person. So again, this census that counts every person only happens every 10 years.
That's why it's so important, because let's say you happen to give birth on the day of the census. You have to account for that baby. Because it's only 10 years, you have to account for that baby, because that's how they know that they need to have daycares for this child. Because what if people did not account for their children just because it's a baby? There would not be any childcare for these children, and you'd have to wait 10 years just to account for a 10-year-old. You understand what I mean? So it's extremely important.
And just to piggyback again, something that we see that happens a lot in especially apartment buildings, especially in NYCHA buildings, is that people don't count everybody in the building because everyone's not on the lease. And they're scared that if they report everyone who's actually in the household, that it would somehow be reported to NYCHA and they'll get in trouble. So just want to reiterate and emphasize that the information that you provide to the census is confidential. And you should, as you just stated, you should count every person in the household, including babies, including people who are not supposed to be there technically on the lease because they're not on the lease, include everyone.
And she said people are scared. People without green cards are scared. And we did have that problem 10 years ago. And, I did some door knocking 10 years ago as well. And, people did not, I went to nursing homes and undocumented folks did not want to fill out the census. But that question is no longer there. There's no reason to be scared about it. And I understand because I'm from Haitian descent. I have family members who are scared of the census. And I would not allow them to fill something out if I knew it would harm them. So I definitely understand.
So I was just curious if on the other side there's concern about maybe overcounting or fraudulent entries, if that has a negative impact.
I think the best person to answer that is probably the representative from the U.S. Census.
Yes, so we have parameters in place that will measure if people are only counted only once in the right place. It happens a lot with children when people, mom and dad don't live together at the same household, and the child will stay at mom's house and dad's house, and then the parents want to claim the child depending on who claimed the child on their taxes. But census has nothing to do with taxes. You claim the child where they stay on April 1st of 2020. So wherever the child is on April 1st, 2020, that's which parent puts the child down on the form. That's why we ask for the names, because we want to make sure we can see if people are using, the same name. So then we'll know if someone is being double counted.
Once you fill it out and you're counted, you're counted. It's not really like something where you just take yourself out of. Once you're living in this country and you fill it out, you're counted. It's a benefit for you. It's not going to harm you. I don't know if you guys want to.
Yeah, and I guess also just to be clear, it's not a program. It's an accounting. It's an accounting of every single person. And that information is used to determine how many programs and what kind of programs you have in your community. So, as you said, it's about all of us being counted in the community, the strength in numbers. So it's not that an individual I mean, you get the benefit as an individual, but it's really the community that benefits when all of us are counted, so that if it's clear that people in this community need SNAP programs or need tenant assistance, housing assistance, that they would get it based on the information in the census. Does that make sense?
And not to lose political seats. And it's also important for us to recognize that if we aren't counted, we lose political seats. Our politicians who fight for us and provide the resources in our communities.
Good afternoon. My name is Shane Amelius. I'm from Congresswoman Clark's office. And I just wanted to elaborate on the census and how important it is. So in 2010, they did the census and we lost 2 seats then. And so basically the main thing right now that they're trying to advocate throughout Brooklyn is part of the hardest to count, but it's, I don't know if you've seen the map that's on online, but it's super red. And that means that individuals like you or like myself might not have been counted in 2010. It's an extremely imperative that they do, meaning for trash pickup, for the parks, if you have a pothole in the middle of your street, those are things that the resources that are obtained from those areas. So the main thing is for us to complete the census. It's not necessarily a program, but the main thing is important that everyone counts. If you have someone that's visiting your house from another country and they might be here for a couple of months, still count them. If you have someone's home from college and they don't live with you, but they're there on April 1st, you have to count them. So that's the main thing that they really want to get across, because the more people that we count, the better and the more resources that are available for us in the community.
The representative from the Census Bureau just has a few words.
Thank you. So I just want to add that while we are gearing up to count everyone, we are also hiring people to be the enumerators. If you are interested, I can give you information on how to apply. The process is very simple. You don't need a resume. You don't need a cover letter. Flexible schedules. You can work as little as 20 hours a week or as many as 40 hours a week, so you can do it a part-time, full-time. We start at $28 an hour, so it's a great way to make up maybe post-Christmas shopping or any other bills that you would like to pay off. We are very flexible with people who are already working full-time and would like to do it as an extra part-time job, or just want to do it while they're still looking for a job. The requirements are only that you have to be 18 years or older and a citizen. But if you do speak another language and you have a social security number, you should still apply, and you'll be considered for employment as a translator with the enumerators. You have to be a citizen, but if you're not a citizen and you have a social security number, you should still apply. Yes, it's a federal job, so we do a background check as well. If you receive any benefits, Medicaid, Medicare, SNAP, food stamps, or you live in a NYCHA building or Section 8, the census income won't affect your benefits.
So when you're applying for the job, you apply online, and when you do apply online, you get like a confirmation number. So we've hosted a few of these job fairs, and a lot of people are asking in regards to the status of their application. Just make sure when you do fill out the application online that you do obtain your confirmation number so that you can go back and see the status of your application.
So in closing, we want to once again thank you guys for coming out. We understand that there may be a sense of fear or uncertainty, but there is a lot of support. Many folks here are either in our New Americans Welcome Center program. Some are members as well. So the Y is your safe haven. Come to the Y. We will create a safe place for you to fill out the census. Tell your friends about it as well. We have computers here. There's multiple days where we'll let the community come in, and if there's times where it's even beyond that, we're here for you. Brooklyn Public Library is here for you as well, and there's multiple partners. So please make sure your voices are heard. Tell your friends and families. I know you may be afraid, but please don't be afraid, because this matters much more. I want to take a moment to thank our colleagues for being here from the Flatbush Tenant Coalition, Delta Sigma for being here as well. All of our colleagues from the association office, thank you so much for your help. My staff in the back, thank you guys for helping out as well. Brooklyn Public Library, thank you guys so much for being here as well. Brooklyn Free Speech, thank you guys so much for filming and taking care of us as well. Thank you guys all so much for being here to engage in this important conversation, and enjoy the rest of the day.